Good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, January 20th, 2026, 6 o'clock, and I'm going to call this regular Lacey City Council meeting to order. We have Councilmember Dunning remote, and we're expecting Councilmember Greenstein remote as well, but there's some question if he's going to be able to make that, but all other council is present. And if you're able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I also want to acknowledge that we, the City of Lacey, are on the ancestral land of the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek, including the Nisqually Indian Tribe and the Squaxin Indian Tribe. And before we go to the approval of the agenda, consent agenda, there are two amendments that I'm asking for this evening. One is to add under public recognitions and presentations, for them to go first, is our youth council reports. I'm sorry, youth council, somehow we missed it on the agenda. And the second amendment is under the mayor's report for the appointments to council, city, and governmental boards and commissions, to move that to a quick work session after the end of our regular scheduled council meeting, so we can have some further discussion and talk about alternates, which didn't happen at last meeting. So can I get a motion to approve the amended agenda?
Move to approve the amended agenda and consent agenda items as published and amended.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Then that motion unanimously carries. We have an approved amended agenda. And first up on our approved amended agenda is the Lacey Youth Council's presentation. So if Lacey Youth Council wants to come up and give their report.
Been continuing our winter sports, and today we had our girls basketball, our girls bowling, and our boys swim meet. We've also been planning a hygiene drive, and we're hoping to raise a lot of funds and items to donate to our local shelter. We've also been planning our school newspaper, which we hope to get our first edition out for next month. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Caleb, and I'll be giving reports on Lacey Youth Council. So we've recently had our joint meeting with Olympia Youth Council regarding the Youth Summit. During this, we just discussed more about our future plans on the Youth Summit itself. And in preparation for the Youth Summit, we've also created the Youth Summit Subcommittee. And today specifically, we've been working on our joint session with the Commission on Equity. During this, we just talked about benefits and deficiencies on equity in our community and our schools, and just preparing for our joint session in February. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Luca Frelich, and I'm representing the homeschool community. Winter break is unfortunately over. Everyone has a lot to do. My winter conditioning is wrapping up, and spring sports are coming soon. There's not a whole lot going on other than everybody being very busy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Council. My name is Jennifer Zhang. For the Youth Summit Subcommittee, on December 17th, we had a joint meeting with the Olympia Youth Council where we introduced ourselves and showcased some of our favorite aspects of Lacey and began planning the Youth Summit. We formed this subcommittee to keep in touch and stay in contact with the Olympia Youth Council for further planning, and we hope to get you guys further details.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Avani Kumar, and I'm from Timberline High School. Our DECA team made it to state We had our MLK assembly last Friday, and our FBLA chapter is going to regionals next week, and we also have finals week next week. Thank you.
Good luck.
Good evening. I'm Harmony Johnson reporting for River Ridge High School. Recently, our school's been under reconstruction, and after we came back from winter break, our new main office was opened and also new hallways. Since it's winter, it means the end of the semester is coming up, so that means that clubs are getting ready for regional events, with our DECA team making it to state this past month. It also means that clubs and tutors are starting after-school study halls to help with grades, since those are becoming finalized soon. Last week, we also had our MLK Assembly where we focused on ideas of inclusion and diversity in the past, but also in the present, and how we can make positive changes in our society with this knowledge today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Youth Council. Keep up the good work. We appreciate your report. So next up on our agenda is the highlight of this meeting this evening, which is our Lacey Loves to Read bookmark winners, and right after that, our proclamation. So can I invite up Jeanette Sealer and Jamie to kick us off, along with the other members?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Erica Scott Small, and I am with Lacey Parks Culture and Recreation. And joining me tonight, I have the head of Lacey Loves to Read Committee, Ms. Jamie Roberts, and I have Raina Sador from the Lacey Timberland Library. I also want to welcome our grand prize winners, who we're recognizing tonight, and their families for joining us. Lacey Loves to Read is celebrating its 23rd year. Lacey Loves to Read continues to be a popular and successful community literacy partnership with the City of Lacey, the Lacey Timberland Library, and the Lacey South Sound Chamber, and also the North Thurston Public Library. The mission of Lacey Loves to Read is to bring our community together around the works of one award-winning author. Each year, we select an author whose books spark curiosity and encourage reading in all ages. We could not do this program without the support of many community sponsors and partners, including the Friends of the Lacey Library, KGY Radio, North Thurston Education Association, among others. This year, we are especially pleased to welcome back Olympia Reads as we celebrate this year's author.
For sure. This year's program will feature award-winning author Renee Watson. Ms. Watson is a #1 New York Times best-selling author with over 1 million books sold. She's received the Coretta Scott King Award as well as the Walter Dean Myers Award. Her debut adult novel, Skin and Bones, was named an Amazon Best Book of the Year. Watson's work explores themes of identity and the intersections of race, class, and gender, and she was also raised in Portland, so a lot of her books are set in the Pacific Northwest. Lacey Loves to Read, and the Lacey Timberland Library is also proud to sponsor our teen writing and art contest for middle and high school students, with a goal of giving more kids a chance to participate by sharing their writing and art skills. The committee is currently going through the judging process, but we have a record number of entries this year. The numbers keep going up and up every year, and the quality too. It's really great. The winners will have their work preserved in an ebook that's also available for physical checkout at the libraries, and be recognized at a special reception with the author during her visit. Check your email in the next few weeks for an invite to that. And in a great partnership with the Lacey South Sound Chamber and local businesses, kids in grades K through 5 can join the interactive reading adventure of Read Around Lacey by visiting 6 of the participating businesses and read a sample of something they've written or read from their favorite book. Then the business representative will share why reading is important in their industry and work. Participants will be entered in a drawing for some cool prizes. Read Around Lacey is set for January 26th, next week, through February 6th. Kids can pick up a form at their school, at one of the public libraries, or print one out from the school district's Lacey Loves to Read website.
Thank you. We are excited to welcome Renee Watson on February 10th through the 13th as she comes to Lacey to meet students for assemblies. We have 2 assemblies, a elementary and a secondary, and to greet other Laceyeites in person at the popular community event. That event is at North Thurston High School Koval Center on Thursday, February 12th. You're all invited. We'd love to see you there. This community event includes author presentation, book signing, and door prizes, and you get to meet with the author. Part of the Lacey Loves to Read tradition is to get kids excited about the program and combine art with literacy through the bookmark contest, which is why many of you are here today. This year, we had over 3,000 entries into our contests. We are sponsored by Graphic Communications and KGY Radio and Browser Books, and then the North Thurston Education Foundation. We have 24 winners representing every school in the district, as well as private schools and homeschoolers. Tonight, we are here to introduce the grand prize bookmark winners, the top in each grade band from North Thurston Public Schools and the community. Once again, the competition was tough, and the artwork was just simply amazing. It's quite amazing to see them all spread out, and just, it's amazing. Part of our events. The contest, in fact, the entire program is managed by the Lacey Loves to Read Steering Committee, and if you're part of that committee, will you raise your hand so people can see who you are? There's a few here. We have quite a few. Let's see. And we're excited that Oli Reads is joining us again this year. So we'll announce each of the winners and share their artwork and invite them up to get their certificate from the mayor and shake hands with each of you, with the council members. Once we have all the kids up here, we'd like to have them pose for photos and also hold their posters at the same time. Okay, so are we ready? So each of these grand prize winners has already received a copy of one of Renee Watson's books and copies of their bookmark, and they're getting a poster tonight, and we're excited to have them here today. So let's start with the first one who received the award for kinder and first grade band, and that's Olivia Armas. She's a kindergartner at Horizons Elementary. Will you come on up, Olivia?
Yeah.
Olivia, can you come here and shake hands? Very good. Such a grown-up thing. Okay, we'll call you back up in a minute, Olivia. For the second, third grade band, our grand prize winner is Jaden Chong, third grader at Olympic View Elementary. For our fourth and fifth grade grand prize winner, it's Natalie Diaz. She's a fifth grader at Pleasant Glade Elementary. Natalie, come on up. For our 6th through 8th grade band, the grand prize winner is Eliza Banks, 7th grader at Camachin Middle School. Get the librarian first. And for our 9th through 12th grade grand prize winner, it's Ayani, I hope I say it right, or Ordonez Feliciano. She's a 12th grader at River Ridge High School. Okay, our community grand prize winner is Nora Kloppel. Thank you. And she is a homeschooler. Thank you, Nora. Then we also have a superintendent's choice each year, and this year it goes to Lily Ibanez, an eighth grader at Camachin Middle School. Lily?
Council come up and all the winners come up.
The winners come up. We're going to have you hold your okay, the picture of your bookmark. That's way more fun.
Okay, we got everyone in. 1, 2, 3. More. 1, 2, 3. All right, now.
We just want to thank the council members for giving our grand prize winners such a warm welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you soon.
Is Councilmember Greenstein on? So, Councilmember Cox, you'll do 2 of the things since Lenny's not here.
Not going to do it. Okay.
Well, thank you, grand prize winners. We really appreciate it. This is one of my favorite council meetings of every year. And it's hard to believe I've been here for 17 of them. I got elected when I was 15. Anyway, 15. Anyway, okay, so now we have the Lacey Loves to Read Month proclamation. We'll get started.
City of Lacey official proclamation. Whereas literacy remains a top school and community priority and is integral to success in school, business, and daily living, and
whereas providing opportunities for community members of all ages to discuss the cultural and literary merits of reading will help create a culture of 20 minutes a day family practice and civic pride in Lacey, and
whereas a community-wide reading program such as Lacey Loves to Read Month will support both students and community members in understanding the power of writing and literacy in their lives, and
whereas the partnership between North Thurston Public Schools, the City of Lacey, and the Lacey-Timberland Regional Library has made this program possible, and whereas reading informs, empowers, and teaches us the lessons of history, and reading literature that explores diversity, global, and social issues can help increase tolerance and unity within a community. And
whereas Lacey community members can read and discuss a variety of works by award-winning author Renee Watson, who will visit our community February 11th through February 13th, 2026.
Now, therefore, I, Andy Ryder, Mayor of the City of Lacey, on behalf of the Lacey City Council, do hereby proclaim February 2026 as Lacey Loves to Read Month in the City of Lacey, and encourage community members of all ages to acknowledge and celebrate the importance of reading and to discuss the works by author Renee Watson. Signed by myself, Mayor Andy Ryder, on this date. And come up and click the proclamation. One more picture. Thank you. Okay, next on our approved amended agenda is a public comment. We had 3 written public comments that are part of the record, and we do have quite a couple people who signed up. The first is Stephanie Scott. Please come up and introduce yourself. Yeah. And you will have 3 minutes.
All right. Well, good evening. I'm Stephanie Scott, she, her. I'm a Lacey resident that was here tonight to urge you not to appoint Nick Dunning to the Regional Housing Council. I think I understand that your agenda has changed and you'll be discussing the council members who will be considered for that role. But I still want to talk with you all on the heels of the business-centric announcement that Olympia Mayor Payne made about the jungle last week at a chamber forum. When Lacey voters re-elected Carolyn Cox and elected new council members Turner and Siu in November, we made it clear that we rejected fear-based, anti-housing first politics. Nick, I want to acknowledge that I share many of your frustrations about the current system. I'm part of a group of community members that goes out to the jungle every week to bring people hot meals and supplies, and we do this because we believe that every single person who lives in the jungle deserves care and community with no qualifiers. And we see the way that the systems have failed them. And I will also never forget and am forever guided by the trauma the city, county, and state caused the Desmond Camp residents during the camp closure here in Lacey, when some of the people who lived there ended up moving to the jungle. We all failed them far before the first trespass notice ever went up. But the conclusion you've drawn that Housing First doesn't work is incorrect. The truth is this region has never fully implemented Housing First, so we can't say it doesn't work. Housing First doesn't mean housing only. It means housing is the baseline, the foundation that makes everything else possible. It requires regional coordination and real governmental and organizational accountability, holding contractors like the Low Income Housing Institute accountable for quality and outcomes, recognizing that the lowest bidder is rarely the best provider, investing in case managers, mental health professionals, and substance use treatment at levels that actually meet need, understanding that stabilization and sobriety are not linear and cannot be mandated by threat or displacement, and facing the numbers. There are not even close to enough rooms available at Maple Court to house the easily over 100 people who currently live in or rely on the jungle. Encampment closures never go the way you're told they will. Every single closure traumatizes people and leaves people behind. And when that happens, community members scramble to support people through the trauma and logistics of being displaced. The system depends on unpaid labor to clean up the gaps created by rushed, politically motivated closures, and many of those providing unpaid labor and resources are from marginalized and vulnerable groups themselves. The jungle is a symptom of poverty, of housing scarcity, of a widening wealth gap, lack of access to quality mental health and substance use support, and it's grown even more in size due to other failed camp closures, including Desmond. This is why this council appointment matters so much. The Housing Council delegate should be informed and knowledgeable about evidence-based best practices as understood by people who are actually involved in and study the field, or at least open-minded about trying to learn about the subject. Councilmember Turner, I listened to your campaign speeches going into this meeting to prepare for it. You'd be fantastic. True Housing First is the only real path to closing the jungle safely and permanently. This council has a responsibility not just to the city, but to the people who will bear the consequences of decisions made here. Thank you for voting no on that appointment, and please implement Housing First as it's intended. Thank you.
Thank you. Bobby's up next.
Hi there. My name's Bobby. I'm a Thurston County resident. I'm here to also speak on the potential new appointment for the Regional Housing Council. I go to the jungle and have been going to the jungle for a few years now to help bring aid and food and water and just support to the residents there. And it concerns me to think that like many of the other encampments in Thurston County, they may just be put out of their place and not left with any support or very minimal support with a lot of barriers. And it is scary. I moved here from Wisconsin in 2017, and there was close to 10 houseless encampments in Thurston County, I believe. And now there's only one. And I just hope that the people that I've gotten to know there are just given a fair shot, and there's somebody newly appointed to this Regional Housing Council that is going to put them first, prioritize them, and not come up with partial solutions before evicting them from their homes. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. We also have one more person who signed up, Jaden.
Council members, I respectfully ask that you do not appoint Nick Dunning to the Regional Housing Council. I regularly work with a group, as do these people, to distribute food and supplies to our unhoused neighbors in the jungle encampment that Olympia's Mayor Payne has recently announced a plan to shut down. And Nick Dunning's anti-housing first politics has me fearing for the safety of our neighbors in this area, and yes, they are our neighbors. Because anti-housing first politics have failed us, or succeeded in their goal, they have made our unhoused neighbors more vulnerable to structural violence and incarceration, which I hope we can all agree is not the solution for people experiencing a psychiatric crisis. Add to that, our state's civil commitment to mental health care system is already pushed to the limits. Council members, if you truly represent the interests of the city, you must understand that the citizens are what make the city what it is. And if even one of us is unhoused, that is indicative of a systematic failure. You have a responsibility to address. And to be able to address that, you must understand our material conditions and individual needs. Do not appoint someone who has made it very clear they are against housing first. I am a working class citizen well below the poverty line, even though the function of this city depends on people like me showing up to work. I am very lucky to be housed, and it is no thanks to anti-housing first politicians who I can say do not represent our interests and are not on our side, whether we work or not, whether we are housed or not. You all have a duty to directly work with the unhoused citizens to assess their needs and implement it into policy if we are going to make any meaningful material change together that ensures not only that housing in this region is observed as a non-negotiable human right, but that individual needs are accounted for in housing solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to address this council? I just, as it's been already pointed out, that we are going to be going to a work session after this to discuss not only this appointment, but the process that we have always gone through here at the City of Lacey when we do appointments. And so if those who are interested in hearing that, I'd ask you to stick around for that. I do want to apologize. Last meeting, I came down deathly sick at the last second, and I couldn't make that meeting, and it sort of threw a little bit of the process off. But we're here to make sure we're fully explain the process that we go through here at the City of Lacey. So welcome you to stick around to be part of hear that discussion. Okay, next up on our amended agenda is Resolution 1179, the Police Department Fee Schedule Update.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm Anna McBee, the Records Supervisor for the Police Department here at Lacey, and I'm here tonight to recommend council approve Resolution 1179. This resolution is seeking two things. First, to implement a background check fee to offset the cost the Lacey Police Department has been paying for firearm dealer employees to have a fingerprint-based background completed. And second, to increase the administrative fee of the police department's fingerprint services from $13 to $15. Let me provide you with some background information. Effective July 1st, 2025, RCW 9.41.110 required all employees of firearm dealers to undergo a fingerprint-based background before they can sell or transfer firearms. In addition to the fingerprints taken and submitted by our staff, they also complete an FBI NICS check, a healthcare authority check, and other local checks to ensure eligibility. When our police staff select firearm dealer employee as the reason a person is being fingerprinted, the Lacey Police Department then receives an invoice in the amount of $21 from the Washington State Patrol for that process. Again, the police department has been covering the $21 fee for fingerprint background for employees of firearm dealers since implementation. As noted in the staff report provided to you, we anticipate an increase in employees of firearm dealers presenting themselves for the background process to ensure compliance with the new state law. However, there is no dedicated funding source to sustain this practice. The second part of Resolution 1179 is a recommendation to increase the administrative fingerprint processing fee from $13 to $15. This fee applies to all individuals seeking fingerprints from the Lacey Police Department and has not been reviewed or increased in several years. This resolution will establish an annual review of the fingerprint fee to ensure the city maintains a full cost recovery for this service. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and thank you for your time and consideration.
Can I get a motion?
You want to move?
Second.
So the motion is to approve Resolution 1179. And
I would move that we approve Resolution 1179, Police Department Fee Schedule Update.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Any discussion?
Real quick, so in the report, it says that, like, the manager of the gun department in each of these facilities has to get the approved. Does the employer not approve anybody under that manager in that department? And that's why?
So the way it works is the person who actually signs the permit or is listed on the permit for the, like Cabela's, they pay the $125 fee set by the state. And in that is included the $21 fee that we don't ever see an invoice for because it's already included in that fee that they pay to the state, and that goes directly to the state. So they are fingerprinted and backgrounded annually. If they change, they're fingerprinted and backgrounded annually. We do background employees as they come in, but because of the new state law, they're going to be held to accountability now. To make sure that their employees are backgrounded and eligible to sell and transfer firearms.
So by that rationale, not everybody behind the gun counter has gone through this process?
Potentially not.
Okay. And so we just want to make sure that everybody behind the gun counter goes through that process.
Correct.
And in order for us to do that, we need to implement this schedule.
Correct.
Well, yeah, we're implementing the schedule to sort of recoup our costs that are involved in it.
Correct.
And is this a cost that is usually passed on from other jurisdictions? Local jurisdictions?
It hasn't been, but that's been a discussion in the law enforcement realm. They said to take it to your council, to talk to your attorneys to see if that is something that you can recover.
So are we starting to see more of that?
I think that's something that people are going to see kind of across the board.
You want to weigh in on any of this, Chief?
Yes, I do. We have no funding source to support this activity moving forward. We've been absorbing this cost within our line item. That line item is exhausted. We can't continue to sustain subsidizing this new burden that's been put on us by the legislature. So it is only reasonable to pass that we are getting billed for this service. It's only reasonable to pass that along to the people using that service. Also, increasing the fingerprint fee is in line with other jurisdictions. It just hasn't been raised in many, many years. So it's to meet that new cost as well.
Thank you. Any other?
Yeah, I do. Is the annual background check tied to each employee's anniversary date, or is it all done at one time at, say, the end of the year? How
So
does that
it
work?
depends, because the law says it's an annual thing, we can only do it once a year. So we would do it either at the time that the employer comes in and says, okay, here are all my employees, and we'll make sure that we have their, because they have to fill out a separate application, and we keep that with the firearm dealer application packet, and so we can kind of track on our end to see who's been fingerprinted, who needs to be backgrounded, that for that dealer. Does that
So it's
answer
all
your
at one
question?
time?
It's
all at,
It can be all at one time, but it can also be as they're hired. So if there's turnover 3 months after they get their permit, we're still going to fingerprint and background their new employees. So it's possible it'll happen throughout the year, but typically they'll all come in at once. But there's no way for us to guarantee that someone working there today is going to work there in 1 year.
okay.
So, but regardless, everyone behind the counter will need
Get an
that
annual background.
before they can sell a firearm.
Correct.
And it's also important to note, there's a number of businesses that sell firearms. There's Cabela's, Big Five, pawn shops, secondhand dealers. There's a lot of different outlets for buying firearms here, both the public knows about and some that they don't know about. Then if they have any employees, they're also required to come in and get regulated as well. So that there's going to be an additional workload here for our Records Bureau.
I see
Yeah,
that.
that's exponential volumes. That's what I was going to mention is because of the state rule for all employees, you're going to see that spike in activity. And we got to cover that cost with, as the chief said, we're currently absorbing that fee, but it's going to exponentially get more activity and we need to be able to recover some of that cost.
So outside this, if you're selling your personal firearm to someone, would you need a
We
fingerprint?
go through a federal firearms licensee, and they're already paying that fee. So you're paying, so when you do a transfer, you go to a federal firearms licensee, they're the ones that actually affect the transfer. So, and they're captured under this law.
Great. Any other questions?
Current volume. How many of these are we doing a year, maybe?
I defer to my supervisor. I'm guessing.
So I believe we have, I think I said there were 9 firearm dealers in the city of Lacey, licensed in the city of Lacey. And since the implementation of this in July, we've fingerprinted 5 employees.
Okay.
So
So is it possible to have some sort of continuous monitoring so people don't have to come back in for fingerprinting and a background check every year?
Yeah, do they have to do this every year?
they have to do it
They're
every year.
required to do it by law.
Regardless.
But is there a way to do continuous monitoring?
How so? I'm
The
sorry.
law doesn't allow that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is state law.
Yeah, we don't maintain a record of who is processed. That goes all to the state. We provide the service and transfer that data to the state. So.
Well, the reason I ask, because when I went through the adoption process, and I had to go through home studies, and every time I had to go down and get my fingerprints done and do a background check until the state that I was living in decided, we'll just do continuous monitoring, so you don't have to come back every year. If something pops up, we'll know it.
I'm
That's what I
not,
was asking.
I don't believe that's legislatively allowed at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, it's been moved and second for us to pass Resolution 1179, which is the fee schedule update for what we discussed about tonight. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Then that motion unanimously carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next up, under the mayor's report, I just have the one reappointment. This is for our regional public facilities district, and this is the district-wide representative. For just a quick update, this used to be something that was done a little more informally, where I would make I would look at all the applications and make the recommendation, then kind of go around to the other the mayors and the chair of the county commission and sort of get a thumbs up, and it would just kind of go through that way. the last time we did this, the other jurisdictions looked for a little bit more of a formal process. And so now we brought all this to our three cities meetings that we do every other month with the county and the Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater. And this was discussed, and everyone agreed on this reappointment. And so this is just Lacey's part of reappointing Chris to be the district-wide representative for another term. And that is my motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Is anyone opposed? That motion unanimously carries. Thank you, council. Next up is the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor Ryder, and good evening, council. I have one item on the my report tonight, and that is request for council to authorize interlocal agreement with Intercity Transit for the Smart Corridors Grant Program to install cameras at certain intersections. And to provide background on the project and overview, it will have Martin Hoppy, our transportation manager for the city of Lacey, as well as Peter Stackpole, development director for Intercity Transit.
Well, city manager just gave up my entire introduction, so thank you. So I'll let Peter discuss the project. I have a little PowerPoint presentation for you.
Great, thank you. Mayor Ryder, Deputy Mayor Miller, members of the council. For the record, I am Peter Stackpole with Intercity Transit, Development Director. And today I'm here really for a twofold reason. The first is to give you an update on Intercity Transit's USDOT Smart Grant Demonstration Project, which we're implementing in partnership with the City of Lacey. In addition to providing an overview of the pilot, I'm here to request council consideration and approval of the interlocal agreement that would enable this work. I'll start with a brief overview of the Smart Grant program, then walk through the project itself. I'll cover the purpose of the interlocal agreement, explain the technology and data analytics, and close with some information on the timeline. So the Smart Grant program is designed to fund applied technology projects that solve real-world transportation problems. It's focused on innovation, data-driven decision-making, and learning what works before scaling up. The program has two stages. Stage one is a $2 million grant for a demonstration and evaluation. And then stage two is for $15 million, and that is for implementation if the results support expansion. So Intercity Transit is currently in stage one. We're running a demonstration program, and this is a new funding source for us. It's the first time we have applied for and received a USDOT SMART grant, and it's through USDOT's Office of Innovation, and we are very grateful for Lacey's partnership on this. And a little bit more on the project itself. It installs AI-enabled smart sensors at 10 intersections around the Lacey Transit Center and along Martin Way. And the sensors really help us understand how vehicles, buses, people who are biking and people who are walking are actually moving through the corridor. That data feeds into a shared dashboard that both agencies can use, and it gives us a clearer picture of what's happening on the ground in really what is a complex multimodal area. So at a high level, we're really focused on three things: improving safety by reducing conflicts between modes, improving intersection operations, and testing whether this approach can be scaled to other corridors. Along the way, we're also building experience with shared data-driven performance management across agencies. It's something we're familiar with in our Smart Corridors program. Different project, but does have a nexus to this SMART grant implementation. So the purpose of the interlocal agreement, it really allows us to move forward with with implementing the AI sensors in City of Lacey infrastructure. It establishes how the sensors are permitted, how they're installed and coordinated, and allows Intercity Transit to reimburse the city for eligible costs. Just as importantly, It clearly lays out ownership, roles and responsibilities, public records requirements, so the expectations are clear for both agencies. During stage one, we're focused on a few key questions. Is the technology accurate and reliable? Does it produce information that is actually useful for decision-making? And can it scale efficiently if we choose to expand in the future? I think it's important to note that this phase is very intentionally about testing and learning. We want to make sure that the technology works before moving on to any large-scale implementation that would be funded if we can prove that success and then be eligible to apply for a stage 2 grant. So a little bit more about the smart camera design. These AI-enabled smart sensors use computer vision to analyze movement through the intersections. They focus on the intersections between modes rather than individual people or vehicles. And then the data is summarized and sent to a centralized dashboard. So staff isn't actually looking at the video. What's gathered from those videos is sent to the dashboard, and I'll get into a little bit more detail on that in a little bit. And another important note is that this is a planning and operations tool. It is not an enforcement system. These are not flock cameras. They're not designed to gather any personal information. Going into a little bit more details on the smart sensor cameras themselves, they really seek to analyze real-time traffic activity. They support multimodal corridor evaluation, and then again, they feed those summarized results into a performance dashboard. The intent is to provide better information to improve safety, efficiency, and long-term planning outcomes. It's very important to be clear about what these sensors do not do. They're not traditional surveillance cameras. They do not collect or store personally identifiable information. They do not track faces, license plates, or individuals. The focus is entirely on system performance and movement patterns. The image on this slide kind of gives you an idea of what the field of view is used for in this type of analysis. I think it helps illustrate how the system sees the intersection as a whole, and I'll provide a little bit more details on this in the next couple of slides. Also, because this is a pilot, it gives us the opportunity to be really thoughtful and measured. We can evaluate data retention and public records implementation on a small scale before considering anything broader. Any short video clips that are retained would be public records. That said, the pilot allows us to use a limited interim retention approach while we work with legal counsel to clarify long-term retention access and records management requirements. I can tell you that some of the examples I'm going to show you in a moment are from the city of Seattle. They have a 10-day retention policy for their video streams, and they do not share their video streams with law enforcement. We'd probably mirror something similar during the pilot as we move forward. And then what we learn in this process would help inform any future policy decisions if the technology is eventually expanded beyond a pilot. So here is an example from the city of Seattle. This example shows how the system can identify near-miss events. Let's see if I can get this to play. Oh. Is that working? No.
Gotta love technology.
Works really well on my computer.
Worked on mine too.
Well, hopefully the system works better than this.
All right, well, I'll just go on.
I can explain, the scooter ran the red light.
Yeah, and the car behind the bus pulls on the side to make a free right turn and nearly hits the pedestrian.
Who's walking across, yeah.
Yep. Oh, there we go. So this example really shows how the system can identify near-miss events between vehicles and pedestrians. And these near misses are important because they provide safety insights that don't show up in traditional crash data. So we are really looking at patterns and trends, not individual incidents. I'm not going to play this one.
Yeah, we'll take your word for it.
Spoiler alert, they collide. So this really shows a vehicle-to-vehicle collision and how it appears in the system. Again, the value is in understanding where and how these events occurred so we can evaluate conditions and potential improvements.
So, just for the record, that collision happens, can that video be requested?
It can be. They are public records. It depends on the retention policy, though. If you have a 10-day retention policy, after that 10 days, they are deleted. But yes, they are public records. So.
Patterns and trends. How do you account for weather?
So the AI sensors are capable of detecting weather. They can learn patterns. They can discern between sunny weather and rain and snow.
And related to public records, yeah, if there's a 10-day retention policy, that record disappears. However, if that request occurred before that 10-day period, then it would be a public record that could be attainable.
One thing too is that weather can affect these cameras, just like everything else. Snow is one of the ones that absolutely kill us on detection, so I would expect these to have a
So, but the analytics happen immediately, right?
Yes, the analytics happen and are transferred to the dashboard, and on the next slide, I will show you. To be presenting on a technology project and having technological difficulties.
Sounds right.
Okay, oh, went too far. So getting to the dashboard. So the dashboard turns all the sensor data into information that we can actually use. Looking at it from a transit perspective, it can show us where delay and reliability issues occur and how well transit signal priority is working in the corridor. It can also look at multiple intersections across the corridor. It lets us do very clear before and after comparisons when changes are made so we can see what's improving and where issues tend to persist. Overall, it helps us pinpoint safety and operational hotspots and supports more data-driven planning and investment decisions. So over time, this approach can morph from a single corridor to a broader system-level performance measure and potentially into a regional performance monitoring tool. A little bit about the timeline. The project began in May 2025 and runs for 18 months with the target completion in November of 2026. We did get a bit of a delayed start. We had our assistance agreement in hand on May 15th, and that period of performance was from May 15th through November of 2026, but because of pending legal action with the administration, we did not have a fully executed agreement until the last day of August. So that created some hardships in the timeline, but the timeline does allow for the installation, testing, and evaluation of the technology before that period of performance ends. So in closing, just wanted to reiterate that this is a time-limited, federally funded demonstration focused on learning and evaluation, and the interlocal agreement enables the pilot but does not commit either Lacey or intercity transit to permanent deployment. We would happily return with findings and recommendations once the demonstration project is complete.
Questions?
Is this subscription based, and if so, are there some carrying costs beyond the 18 months?
This is a total grant program, right?
Yeah, it is a total grant program, so it's fully funded. No local match required for this. And I assume you're referring to whoever provides the platform that yeah, it is. It's a fully cloud-based platform.
So how long does Interstate Transit need to hold on to these files? You said you put an arbitrary 10 days. Is there a minimum amount of time you would need to hold on to the videos?
No, I mean, as soon as the data is transferred into the dashboard, which happens fairly quickly, it can be deleted.
Yeah. I'm not sure where the council's at on this, but my recommendation going forward would be to have that time we hold on to the video no more than 48 hours. There's no reason to be holding. We don't want to get into this business of going through these videos for personal reasons, right?
I'll just comment for the council that the interlocal agreement is clear on the fact that all the data is owned and retained by IT. So the city of Lacey is not going to have any documents pursuant to this agreement other than the interlocal itself until data, and IT retains ownership of all the facilities. The city's just allowing the use of the location for the facilities to be located, so that the city's not going to have any public records until it requests some specific data from IT. Just clarification.
Yeah, and I still stand by my concern. I just because the camera isn't meant to follow license plates doesn't mean that it can't be used to follow a license plate. And so there's no reason to, if this is just to collect data for safety purposes, then that's what we should limit it to. And if you allow it to collect data and allow that data to be kept on file for, even 10 days, I could see a way this could possibly be abused that I'm not comfortable with.
Yeah.
That's just me talking. But, the other issue that, we've seen is there's been, this is not a flock camera, but people will see it and think it's a flock camera. And so there will be pushback and a lot of questions and say, what's this camera's doing? What kind of information is it tracking? I don't want that, right? And then we better have a very good response saying this is not tracking. This is only for trying to improve the safety of our streets. And if that's what we're doing, then I'm okay with that. But I'm not comfortable with allowing that data to be set out there for 10 days. I'm just not.
From a transit perspective, yeah.
Could be reconfigured in any way to collect that kind of.
Yeah, I think ultimately they are cameras, and do they have the capability to go in there and strip the privacy protections? Absolutely, that could be done, but if somebody, but as a matter of policy, you wouldn't find transit doing that. That's not the goal of this, and I'm right with you. We don't want to retain those records any longer than we have to for the same reasons that you mentioned.
Because anytime there is an accident and when there's a camera there, someone's going to want access to it, and so you're going to be putting onus on Interstate Transit to figure that out. If you got reimbursed, you never get really reimbursed for those costs, and so it turns into this whole other thing that is not the purpose of our smart corridors. I am 100% supportive of smart corridors. I'm the chair of the Transportation Policy Board. I would like to see more of these, but done right? And it's a very, we're seeing this be abused, in other circumstances, and I just don't want to follow along on that and have any chance of that being abused in this circumstance.
Understood.
I just had a quick question. Sure. So you mentioned that there is going to be a cloud-based platform that basically takes the videos, digests it down into data, and then sends that back to you. In your agreement with that service, what information do they keep? Since they're getting that data, you own the traffic, that information, but what is their portion? Like, what do they keep? Like, what is that? Do we have any information on that type of agreement?
They don't keep any data.
Okay.
We just use the platform as an interface to fill the dashboard, and that's it. They don't collect any data from us. It's a combination of, for this particular pilot, Sierra Technologies using a DIRC platform, which is being used in other locations. Yeah, I think the example I showed you at the city of Seattle is a similar platform.
Go ahead.
Well, I agree with the mayor's proposal for the 48 hours, and this was discussed at the most recent Transit Authority meeting, and Peter, I appreciate you indulging me by going on the record in the meeting and saying, these are not flock cameras, and so that we're on the record as saying that, because I think people are nervous and twitchy and, cynical about how this data is going to be used, and I think we need to reassure the public that this is meant to enhance safety and not to spy on Lacey residents.
Would we need some sort of change on Lacey's standpoint for the 48 hours, or is this something that will need to go back to your City of Transit for you guys to consider before we go forward?
For the interlocal agreement, I think it just mentions that we would be responsible for video retention, but we could certainly add it into the agreement that we will retain videos for the minimal time allowable in order to get data transferred to the dashboard.
Peter's correct. The current draft of the agreement is silent on retention policy because it was looked at, since Intercity Transit would own those records, it'd be up to their policies to implement and respond to public records.
Yeah, but they're in the city of Lacey using our.
I agree.
Yeah.
But we can, always request amendments to have clarity on what those retention policies would look like, work with Intercity Transit.
Absolutely.
So do we need to, when do you need this resolution passed by?
Just before we do start the install, so, I mean.
When will that be?
The intent was to be done in the spring.
Okay, so
we
we
got
have some time?
Yep.
So,
So what I'm hearing from,
yeah, do you mind coming back with this information and presenting it back to the council with some more concrete
yes,
information?
we'll take the council's direction, work with Peter and the Intercity Transit team to develop some clarity around the records retention measure and get some more information and bring it back for council for consideration.
I had one question, concern. So I appreciate all the council, voicing their concerns, because I had a very similar concern. And I would be in favor of keeping that information at the shortest duration of time possible. But one thing that I thought was, sometimes companies change policy. They get bought by other people or other companies or whatever the case may be. And if sometime in the future we find that, because it didn't appear that they were using compound lenses, but maybe they are, and maybe somehow in the system they can change it to where it does collect personally identifiable information. If we find that that should be the case or that happens sometime in the future, what is our recourse at that point in time?
Well, honestly, we could take them down. That was kind of written into the agreement that if it doesn't work and doesn't give us any information that we need, that they were going to restore the signals back to their original condition.
Or if somehow it becomes misused?
Or,
Scott asked me this the other day. He goes, what do you use out of it? And right now, I'm just excited about getting counts on a daily basis and being able to. That's my main emphasis so far.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the positives of this, right? I would love to see this on all of our major corridors, so we're collecting better information on traffic safety and moving transit and pedestrians, all of that. And we have the technology. I'd love to use it whenever possible. AI is such a new thing, and we've seen the other side of it, where we're always sort of trying to figure out where the regulation should be and where the new technology is, and you're trying to get those two things right. And I'd rather side on the conservative side of things,
Sure.
right? Which is saying, let's have that collect the information we need and no other information. And if other information we find other information is being collected or somehow tapped into, we have the right to, take them down and no longer go forward until we correct that. So I think we can wrap that. I think we can figure that out into this interlocal agreement and go forward. And I look forward to seeing the good data going, once this is all going.
Yeah, I will add that this is just a,
Pilot program too, right?
well, it's a pilot program, but it really has a nexus to the overall Smart Corridor
Yeah.
program and the spillover effects of being able to do connected vehicle technology, because one of our biggest challenges right now is
Agreed.
collecting data in a usable format. But we are very sensitive to the fact that people see cameras and they won't discern between those and flock cameras, which is why we're planning to do some public outreach and a project page, which will describe these
Sure.
as well. Yep. But we're happy to come back when we refine the
Yeah.
interlocal agreement.
Let's just tighten it up a little bit and we'll get there.
Okay, great.
Right? Okay. Yep. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, and that will conclude my report. Thank you, Peter, Martin, much.
Great. So now we're on to council reports. I'm up first, but I actually do not have a report. I would have gone to the Transportation Policy Board bright and early on Wednesday, but again, I felt sick Tuesday night, so I wasn't able to make that meeting. But Deputy Mayor?
I too do not have a report. EDC does meet this week, and we have JASCOM coming up really soon, and I'll have some reports coming out within our next council meeting.
Great. Councilmember Cox.
Okay, I have a report on the Thurston Regional Planning Council meeting, since Robin Vasquez is no longer with us. We received an overview of the Planning Council's 2026 Consolidated Operating Budget and approved it. We are going to be electing officers at our February 6th council meeting. Currently, I am the acting chair because Robin had been chair. And hopefully I can surrender the gavel after partway through the meeting in early February. We received an update from the Planning Council staff on comprehensive plan certifications. They were happy with Lacey's, which is good. And it is quite a process, and we talked about how we might look at the next time this comes around, how we can maybe not all be dumping it at the last minute at the same time, all the entities on the Planning Council, and, stagger this a little bit so that, their workload evens out and we're all not at the last minute, oh gosh, is it okay, is it not okay? And, so hopefully there will be some good things coming out of that. We heard a report on the RIA 13 lead entity for salmon. This is one of the things that the Planning Council has taken up. And this was an annual update to report on the salmon recovery program, activities, including highlights of recent projects completed and an upcoming funding request for the Deschutes River watershed through the Floodplains by Design grant program. And then finally, we looked at federal priorities and federal reauthorization. This was just a presentation overview on that. And then Intercity Transit Authority met on January 7th, and it was just some kind of taking care of business. We authorized the general manager to acquire a cloud-based communications program from Ring Central in the amount of $140,000 for a 3-year term. And we authorized her to enter into an interlocal agreement with the City of Lacey, which we have just heard the presentation on about the smart sensors. It looks like we're going to be receiving a grant from the State Department of Commerce to provide technical assistance services to support development of a feasibility study to design solar power and battery storage at Intercity Transit's Pattison Street campus. So more to come on that. And then just a little bit more on a program called Walk and Roll, which teaches kids bicycle and walking safety. It offers classes, it offers a workshop, and so they include a do-it-yourself bike repair program, and there are classes coming up from 5 to 8 p.m. on January 17th. That one is over with. Anyway, if you go to the Intercity Transit website, you can learn more about that. There are Learn to Ride classes that are held outside under the covered area at the Plum Street Y. Those are coming up in mid-February and mid-March. And then there's a spring break program called Teens Biking to Destinations. So Intercity Transit does a lot more than just roll buses down our streets. And they look at multimodal transportation, which I think is a great thing. So check it out on the Intercity Transit website if you're interested in these programs. And that's my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Dunning.
Yes, I had the left one, me and Councilmember Greenstein on the 8th of January. We really just did a policy manual update because we had quite a few policies that didn't really apply to the current members. So we just dropped anything that would never apply to a member again. And then last Thursday, the 14th, or 15th, if I get that right, the Law and Justice Committee met. I want to make sure that we had a representation there because that was Councilmember Stedman's position. We basically did a big roundtable on the status of the different jurisdictions and partners. Really, most of it just revolved around everyone being in the common budget crisis and kind of not knowing how that's going to affect their organizations for this fiscal year. So there'll probably be a lot more updates on that in the next quarterly meeting. And then thankfully, Lacey, we're actually in pretty good shape as far as we go budget-wise with our officers. But I did also talk about our updates to the new police department building and the regional training center, as well as the potential legislative funding to start hosting classes. And Deputy Chief Harris helped fill in any questions, as well as we invited a lot of those partners to come do a tour at some point because they really didn't know how far along we were in the process. So we want to make sure that they had the opportunity to come and see everything. And if you build it, they will come type of situation. So overall, it was a good meeting. And there was one kind of sensitive subject that got brought up, which obviously is in the news lately, which is, how the federal government and ICE, with, Washington State's different policies and our different jurisdictional policies. And Sheriff Sanders really reiterated how, they're separate and they aren't communicating with them and they aren't communicating with us type things. Really no plans on that. So there was just a lot of questions about how that was being treated, but really there's not really much there. But obviously a lot of community partners were just wanting to make sure that we were abiding by our rules in our state and our jurisdiction. So that was a really good conversation we had, and that was it.
Great. Well, with that, we are going to be adjourning to a work session to talk about our City Council intergovernmental boards and commissions, primaries and alternates. It is 7:14. Let's reconvene at, well, now it's 7:15. Let's reconvene at 7:25 in the back. And Nick, go ahead and stay on the same link. We'll just transfer you to the back. And And with that, keep it classy, Lacey, and we'll re-adjourn in 10 minutes. 7:25, and I'm going to call this work session back in order. And our topic of this work session is the discussion of our regional intergovernmental boards and committees, and to come up with primaries and alternates, if possible, this evening for our different intergovernmental boards and commissions. And so let me give a little bit of background on what the what the process has historically been when it comes to intergovernmental boards and commissions. In the past, how we usually have done this is, around the first of the year. In this case, we did a little bit earlier. We put out all the different intergovernmental boards and commissions that this council sits on, and we spread it around to all the different council members, and look for where each council member's interest, is on those. Then usually, what would be the first work session of the year, which would have been, last week. We take all that information and have a conversation at that work session about where everyone's first priority was, what their second priority was, and then we try to figure out alternates. And then usually, after we've had that discussion, I take all that information and set up a meeting with the deputy mayor and the city manager to go over all the information and try to make sure we, as much as possible, we try to give everyone's their first and second priority if there's no conflicts. The other thing that we've always looked at when we go over these is there someone who is going to be in the position of president or vice president, or somewhere on the leadership side of the intergovernmental boards and commissions, and if they are, then and they want to continue on that, we for sure make sure they can continue to do that. And so the list went out. Went a little bit different this time, but we got the information a little bit ahead of time. I was able to take a look at that information prior to last Tuesday's meeting, and then we set up a meeting with the deputy mayor and the city manager to go over all that information before we got a chance to have this conversation at the council at the work session, which of course I wasn't able to make. So we were maybe one step, proactive on that, but it has raised a little bit of concern. So I just wanted to talk about how we historically have done this in the past. And so if you look at what we received on everyone's first, second, if they're president, so on and so forth, that's listed in this table right here. And so we basically went off as close as possible to what people put here. In this case, with Councilmember Greenstein, he's the vice chair of emergency medical services, so he kept that, and he's the chair of TCOM, and so he kept that. And so we basically went down the line, make sure everyone had at least two. And so then with Councilmember Cox, her first priority was the Lot Clean Water Alliance, and her second was Intercity Transit, and then she lists some alternates, and so we made sure Councilmember Cox had those two. Then with Councilmember Dunning, his first choice was the Regional Housing Council, and second choice was the VCB. So that's the way that went. With Councilmember Turner, her first choice was Joint Animal Services, but this is where things got we had to move things around because Deputy Mayor Miller is currently the chair, and we're right in the middle of trying to come up with a new capital. There's so much going on where he's been involved in that, and so unfortunately, we couldn't give you that as your first choice. But your second choice was the Regional Housing Council, and how the Regional Housing Council has worked up to this point. The primary and the alternate has shown up to both of those meetings, and so we made sure that you were the second choice on that. And then your next choice down was the Thurston Regional Planning Council, and so we put you on that. So we're going along with the way that is. With Councilmember CU, Thurston Climate Collaborative was his first. The Thurston County Law and Justice was his second, and then ORCA was his third. How we did all that out, and we had to kind of go back and forth on trying to figure some of this stuff out. I think we gave you your primary to be on the Thurston Climate Mitigation Collaborative, and then the Nisqually River Council is is actually something that is been really important, and it's more important than ever actually right now. And we thought Councilmember Stedman was going to those, and we found out later that he hadn't been, and they meet every month. And this is a really important going forward. This relationship that we have with the Nisqually tribe is something, it's critical. It's something like near and dear to me personally. And we really need strong representation on that, and it's right up your alley. And so I thought you'd be perfect to be our representative on that. And so the other thing that we try to take into account when we're doing all this is people's schedules. And so then we also know that your Fridays is your preferred day, and so we try to take that into account to do that. And then so we put then I don't remember what we did with ORCA.
ORCA, it was for Councilmember CU, the Nisqually River Council. However, there's some changes, requests since then, because we didn't have anybody signed up for SWAC. And so that's another piece that Councilmember CU expressed interest, and then Councilmember Turner expressed interest in the Nisqually River Council. Okay, and so I'm not sure where we're at on. In this list, it would show that Councilmember CU, based on his request to go to SWAC, and then Councilmember Turner's request to be placed on the Nisqually River Council. Okay, so that's news to me, because so that's gonna flip then.
Yes.
And that's fine.
Okay.
All I care about is that the representation on the Nisqually River Council is taken very seriously going forward, because it's been a missed opportunity for us. We need to do everything we can to support the tribe, and there's a lot at stake there, and so to me, it's a really important. And so you guys are both great, whoever that turned out, and so this is typically what we've done in this circumstance. If we come up with a situation where, oh no, we need to flip, let's flip. And if I can just add on to the importance of that too, is, we have the accord out there with Nisqually, and that was right up with part of the environmental piece that we want to collaborate on as well. Yeah, and the accord is really something I'm very proud of. It's really my first big request when I became mayor, and so it's something I'm really very proud that we have this accord. We're one of the only cities that has an accord with a tribe, and I'm very proud of that. So, and then of course, then we went to Deputy Mayor Miller, and he is the president of Economic Development Council. He's the chair of Joint Animal Services. So And then LTAC's the other one that you've been really, passionate about, so there's that. So what else do we have that's left, where we?
Just as another, we don't have any other, based on this, we have a proposed you have a proposed primer on each one of the agendas. One of the things that we found out is the two ad hoc committees, the Thurston County Coalition Against Human Trafficking has been, not meeting for quite some time, and so that was taken off the list until it comes back as a request for an ad hoc, as well as we contacted Thurston Chamber, and Thurston Thrive is inactive now too due to lack of funding. So both those ad hoc committees have been taken off the list.
So that's how that all played out. So that was the recommendation. Now let me go back to the concern with Councilmember Dunning that's been brought up. Councilmember Dunning has obviously been very passionate about the way we look at homeless services, and and it's one of the things that he ran on, and he's been very passionate about, and where he stands on that personally is an issue that we may agree with or not agree with. But in this circumstance, and this is something that I think is extremely important for this council, our new council members, and a good reminder for our existing council members. A council member's independent view on a particular subject, when you're on a board or commission, it is not appropriate for representing the city of Lacey. It is up to the representative who's assigned to each of these boards and commissions to represent the majority view of the city council, not your personal view. And if there's ever, and there has been a couple times over the years where an individual council member has sort of put forward their independent view that wasn't the majority view of the council, and that council member was immediately contacted by myself and our city manager, whoever the city manager is at the time, to have a conversation with them to say what is appropriate and what's not appropriate. And if that council member continued to not voice and represent the majority view of this council, then sometimes council members have been replaced, because that is not the policy of this council, right? It's okay for any individual person to ask good questions, to get good feedback, but at the end of the day, you're here to represent the majority view of this council. Now, we've given a lot of deference to make sure that our council members are following that. That whenever there is a circumstance that may come up where there's a question about where does the council stand on an important issue that's coming up? It's always been incumbent upon that representative on that board or commission to come back to this council and say, here's the issue that we're seeing on this intergovernmental board and commission. Where is this council at on this issue, so I can bring it back and represent Lacey? Not your interest, but Lacey's interest. And that is the policy here. That will always be the policy here. We're a majority rule council. So when it comes to that, in my mind, who sits on these boards and commissions, their responsibility is to put forward the majority view of this council, period. It doesn't, we can flip around everyone on this, as long as they're following our guidelines. Now, there's some big issues coming up on the Regional Housing Council that this council needs to have some in-depth conversation with, so our representative knows exactly where the majority of our council sits on that and is putting that forward. And I've already talked to our city manager, say, hey, we have 2 new council members coming on here. We have some big issues coming up. We need to spend some time discussing those issues well in advance of anything that comes on to the Regional Housing Council. And so that is in the works. We're going to start talking about that as soon as next council meeting. There's going to be a work session. There's going to be a conversation that happens that will then go on to the Regional Housing Council. And for example, I just wrote a letter that's being signed by all the mayors to the Regional Housing Council that has represents the majority's views on making sure we're funding our services here locally. But, that letter could have been signed by any one of us, because that has to represent the majority view of this council. It's not coming from me personally, it's coming on behalf of this city council on where we stand on that. And it's where everyone stands on it, and it's just a good reminder, for the record, we've made some promises, and we need to find a way to fulfill those promises when it comes to permanent supportive housing and our other issues. So that being said, that's how the process usually goes. That's how we were off a little bit on that, and we got some information ahead of time. But we went by the guidelines this time around, like we've gone by the guidelines every time before when it comes to trying to pick this. That being said, Councilmember Dunning, I hope you also understand what I just said. And do you have anything that you would like to respond to what your responsibility would be representing the city of Lacey on the Regional Housing Council? You're on mute.
Man, my one-liner didn't hit then. What you said is exactly what I've done on every single council committee that I've ever been on, and I think in meetings as well too. When it comes down to this, I appreciate what Carolyn had to say, and I encouraged her to have her opinion always be spoken, and we had good dialogue after that, and I really appreciate that. It is, and I tell everybody this, it is not my job on the council, nor any of our jobs, to be an activist for our own cause. It's our job to ask, as elected officials, difficult questions, make sure that we're getting all sides of a subject and as much information as possible. I made sure to be transparent and put out there what questions I had and what I said. And I think that's an important thing for all of us to do. I think transparency is extremely important. And I think it goes to say, diversity of thought is important. And this, I think, is an instance where, if you have a different even question than everybody else, you kind of get shut out. And I think that's a dangerous thing. And I think that kind of exemplifies why we do need to make sure that every council or committee that we're on, we're asking lots of questions and difficult questions, because we need to make sure that all avenues of every subject are gone over. So that way we can have in-depth dialogue to try to get to the best outcome and best solution. And I would encourage anyone who, I actually don't think we're really any of us are that far apart on the housing issues that we have. I think it's just important that we get all the information that we need to. And I would encourage anyone on the council who has any questions. Obviously, you guys know, I've gone in depth, with this, and I can much easier with a conversation, kind of talk in nuance and context about my thoughts or opinions, and I think they're always good. They're always good conversations. But my goal is to represent the city of Lacey. There's been overwhelming support for that, and that's what I will always do. I will say Olympia has a new council person going on. Yelm has a new council person going on. I think Tumwater has a new council person going on. So right now, they don't really have any elected officials who have experience with the issues that they're currently facing, and that's definitely something to be concerned about. So if anyone has any concerns, I am an open book and willing to answer any questions. But my goal has always been to represent the city, or the people we represent, and be as transparent as possible in that process.
But so you understand the assignment, though, right? And I think it is fair that you have been vocal on this issue, and you've been in some cases out front of this council on this issue, and we've had conversations about this where you've said that this is your personal thoughts and on this issue, not you as Councilmember Dunning. As a member of the Regional Housing Council, you understand how important it is that you are always representing the majority of the Regional Housing Council and not your personal opinion.
I think that's important on every committee we sit on, 100%.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was totally clear, because, in some ways, you are giving up what you've had in the past, which has been a sort of your independent conversations in public about where you're at on this. Now, as our representative of the Regional Housing Council, you just have to make sure you're always representing where this council is at going forward. And are you prepared to do that?
Yeah, it's what I've done with every council, and it's what I will continue to do.
Is there anything open for discussion?
I've given this a little bit of thought, and I won't say I came to a conclusion, but in that thought process, I realized that when you're on the outside looking in to a board or a situation or a circumstance, maybe you don't understand all the variables that these people that are already in there are having to look at and deal with in order to reach some objective, right? Mm-hmm. And so oftentimes, once you are part of the team and you get to realize all the variables that go into maybe the limited funding or where we've been before and all these other pieces that come to play, and then you start to begin to understand how and why some of these decisions have been made. You get to understand a little bit more about the trajectory of the board, of the things that are being done and why they're being done the way they are. And so one of the things I thought about, with Councilmember Dunning on this is that, he'll get an opportunity to really get some education and insight on how the REC makes its decisions, why it makes its decisions, the limitations and barriers that they have to deal with that maybe aren't so apparent from the outside. Yeah. Right? And so I know he's passionate about it, and he's been passionate about it on a very personal level. And that was one of the reasons why when we sat down together, I said, I think he'd be good for this. I also thought that Councilmember Turner would be good for TRPC, and so on. So I do think that he deserves a shot at this, because it is his desire and his passion to oversee some portion of or help the unhoused community, and I think once he's
seated, that he'll be able to see some things that maybe he doesn't see just yet. That's my hope in this situation right now.
Well, that's my hope as well. And that's the conversation that we had when we were coming up with this too. The other issue though is since this conversation happened and went out, and we selected Marin for the alternate on this. You have since sent an email voicing some concern about being the alternate. I've discussed it with the city manager. We actually don't see that same concern because, again, it's the role and responsibility of our representative to be supporting the majority view of the city council, not your personal view. So, and especially on the regional housing council, you're an alternate there. And the alternates there historically has been there to sort of provide additional conversation when things are happening. They don't have a vote. You don't have a vote unless the Councilmember Dunning can't make it for one particular reason. So I still believe you are our best alternate, given your background and history on these issues at the next level. I think you could provide a lot of insight to the Regional Housing Council, just from a knowledge standpoint. And I think your voice would be a good voice added to the conversation when the Regional Housing Council are making these decisions. I'm not gonna force you to do this, but it's, I'm asking you to please reconsider, because I think you would be an asset to the Regional Housing Council and to the city of Lacey as we talk about our vision going forward when it comes to the Regional Housing Council from the city of Lacey standpoint.
I'd also like to ask you, honestly.
Well, not a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it. So when it comes to my membership on the city council, I definitely think that I can bring a perspective that perhaps nobody else can bring, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm not comfortable with the overlap between what I do during the day and what I would be doing on the housing council if it came to me, say, casting a vote or speaking on behalf of the council. I'm thinking that there may not be any conflict of interest, but there could be if I am speaking on behalf of the council, which may be different than what I do during the day.
Sure.
So I'm not comfortable with the possible overlap.
Well, again, you would not be in a voting position here. You'd be an alternate.
If he's not there, then I would.
And then you could always recuse yourself and let that be known, where if you didn't want to take a vote. I think that the chances of that happening are very slim, where, I mean, how many times obviously, Councilmember Cox was the chair this past year and heavily involved, and so the alternate really never did have a vote. So it didn't come, but I guess that's the other question is, Councilmember Dunning, can you make all these meetings?
Yeah, I can make all these meetings, and I would frankly appreciate if she was the alternate. I wanted to hear her perspective and her background, and I think it would be a great addition. If it's not a conflict of interest for her, it's her choice. But I would encourage it.
I don't see the conflict.
Also, alternates aren't voting even if the primary is not there.
Yeah, the alternate is intended to take the place of the primary. The primary cannot be there and be informed enough to be able to take a vote if the vote's being called for. In terms of Councilmember Turner's work in her day job versus this, there could be policy positions that are taken in different places. That's got to be something that Councilmember Turner's going to have to weigh if she's in that role and how she can participate. I also want to defer to Councilmember Turner on that issue, because a direct conflict of interest, there are funding decisions, there are policy decisions that are made at the RHC. it's hard to say what would be a conflict at this point without seeing the exact issue being popped up. But I also want to make sure that Councilor Turner's comfortable in whatever role she takes.
What my recommendation would be, if we could leave you as the alternate, have you go to a couple of meetings, you judge for yourself if you feel like there's a crossover, and if there is any concern on your part, let's talk about it, and we'll find a different alternate for you.
I'm not sure I could make that decision just on a couple of meetings.
Okay.
I appreciate the confidence that you have in me to represent the council if a council member Dunning is not able to do it. But I don't, at this point, I don't feel comfortable with it.
Okay.
I just don't.
But then the alternative would be, Councilmember Cox, would you be the alternate?
Well, you know.
I know it's.
I still have some strong feelings about the choice. I stand by the comments I made last week. I will acknowledge that I only found out a few minutes before the council meeting that Nick had requested to be the lead and that you were proposing that he become the lead.
Well,
So,
based on the information that I was given, you can see why that happened, right?
but I didn't have
Sure,
this.
sure.
I attended the meeting remotely, and so all I got was this list that Rick sent me just a few minutes before the meeting started. But, I mean, that's why I didn't have much time to put too many thoughts together beforehand. And this isn't personal. I mean, I really like Nick. You know, it really is not personal, but I just can't emphasize enough the sensitivities in this organization and the history that's gone on. And, you know, it's such a fragile alliance now that we have. I mean, Rick has just done wonderful work with getting Olympia to, you know, and Lacey to be collaborating more and cooperating more with each other. And, you know, we've built trust and all this. And I just, I think it is in danger, particularly with some of these difficult decisions that are coming down the road. Particularly, you know, we've got already a lot of anxiety about federal and state funding and essential programs that are going to be cut or potentially eliminated. And I've served on this council for the entire 8 years I've been on the city council. And I think that depth of knowledge is needed to really fully understand the consequences of decisions, to understand where the bodies are buried, so to speak.
Well, and that's why having you be the alternate to provide that background, I think is important. Because what I'm hearing from you is that you don't believe Nick is going to follow the majority's.
I didn't say that.
Well, then I don't understand where you're coming from then.
I think, you know, where my concerns are is that Nick is very passionate about this. I'm not sure how he realizes the impact that his kind of harsh style of questioning people, some of the things that he puts out on Facebook, some of the, you know, camp tours and all that he's organized, how those affect the others on this housing council and in the social services community that is trying to get to solutions there. And if there's already feelings up about that, I mean, people are going to be watching through that lens, like, what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do?
There's always gonna be, you know, intention. But it's always going to be, you know, impact. And so you can have the best of intentions, right? But your impact could harm or injure or hurt or whatever the case may be. In this situation, I think a good resolution at this point would be is if I take the alternate position for a period of time. It looks like it's on Thursdays. It's web-based. If you can do that way, it's at 4:30. It probably goes to like 6.
4 o'clock.
Is it 4? Okay, 4 o'clock till 6 maybe. You know, in order to put this to bed, I would take that on as an alternate.
Okay.
And go ahead and zoom into these meetings from my office. and be that monitor, for that period of time, and maybe I could, I don't know, because with the EDC, it's kind of branched me out into a couple different spaces where, joined the executive committee, and then I've also become president. And then I've also joined the Chamber Foundation Board, so it's kind of, when I look at the EDC, it's really
Time consuming.
It's not just one board, it turned into four, right? So, but only one of those is my assignment here. But, I think at this point, it'd probably be helpful if I took the alternate position, zoomed into these meetings. I would like to have that same 3 to 6 month review to where, maybe if somebody else wanted it or whatever the case may be, but I'd be willing to absorb that, at this point right now, because it is one of my passions as well.
I know you're passionate about LTAC. I was the LTAC chair for a long time. I mean, I could take that on for you, and we can still collaborate on that if would help you a little bit with your caseload.
Well, the LTAC, because it's seasonal, it doesn't really, Shannon, our LTAC meetings during the season, they haven't been on Thursdays, right?
Can I interject?
They have been on Thursdays.
Sure. I just want to, embarrassed to say there's a typo in that the REC meeting actually is on Wednesdays.
Oh.
It's not Thursdays, the third Wednesday of the month.
Okay, that counts me out because I have EDC on that day.
It's the fourth Wednesday of the month.
Fourth.
At 4 o'clock.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the day that I have, EDC, the full board, have them that day.
I know this isn't public comment, but you want Nick Dunning to learn at a housing council? Jungle residents will pay for that. We're watching.
So if it's did you say third or fourth Wednesday?
It's fourth Wednesday of the month, from 4 to 6.
Okay, 'cause I have EDC
Sure.
on the fourth Wednesday from noon to 2. And usually I go back to my office and work, with my clients. Again, if it's a Zoom, and I could be there in that capacity, I'd rather, I could probably fill it in that way, but, it just kind of seems like we're running out of options right now.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
I do have to say that I feel like I have been painted in a very unfair light. These meetings and every other meeting is, and every meeting that we have together is public record. People can go and see for themselves the questions that I asked, the professionalism, although serious, has always been there. I ask thoughtful questions. I try to engage. So it is really difficult to hear some of these things, and to think that we can't be even, it kind of sounds like you can't, the dog whistles of you can't be on a committee unless you agree with the committee on everything. That's a really dangerous road for us to walk down. And my goal is not to disagree. My goal is to open dialogue and communication at all times and make sure that we as elected officials are questioning things. It's our role is to question things. And then as far as committee goes, our role is really just to report back what those decisions are. And so, I come from a Marine Corps background. When I ask questions seriously. But to paint it as if I'm, kind of going off or, these are just not true and unfair representations of who I am. And I have worked with every single person on the council, met with everyone on the council, discussed things in depth, open to opinions, encourage opinions, and the overwhelming amount of positive support from the community, which you guys can all go look at yourself, shows my character. And so it is frustrating to hear these things because I do feel like they're an unfair representation of how I carry myself on this council and on these boards.
Well, I have to admit, we have never been in an issue where someone's first choice, and no one else has selected that as a first choice, hasn't been granted because of perceived politics, which is what I'm hearing. And that feels icky, right? Now, if Councilmember Dunning doesn't follow through with his obligations, then we have to come back with, right? We change you out.
Absolutely. You guys know I am about accountability. I have preached that for elected officials specifically, and that includes myself. And, if I wish some of these things had been brought up a month ago or after these meetings when they happened, because we could have talked about it. So to get brought up in the way they were and represented the way they were. But yeah, I agree with you. It feels more like, well, I don't agree with some of your opinions, so you shouldn't be on this, then you shouldn't be on this because you're not qualified. I think I'm overly qualified for this, so I don't really appreciate being painted in a way because my opinion's different that I'm this like bad, harsh person that can't communicate with people. I just don't think that's a fair representation of who I am. And there's plenty, if I had organized, I could organize 15 people to come and speak on my behalf in the same way. I find it really weird that campaign manager for the RHC chair shows up with people to all of a sudden go against me. Yeah, and this just seems really like a political bias attack. And that's the opposite, I think, of what we should be doing as council members. So it just feels really weird. I don't know how to articulate it really well, but I hope you guys understand what I'm saying.
So has the council taken a position on housing first? This council?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've had those conversations, and Councilmember Cox has carried that forward.
In support of it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And I think at this point, we've gotten to a place where we're looking for the alternate to also be RHC.
Councilmember Greenstein did also put on there as an alternate or as a choice, just so you guys know, if that's an option.
What about you as an alternate?
Yeah, I would, you said you changed, the times changed, it's the fourth
Wednesday at 4 to 6.
Fourth Wednesday at 4 to 6. Yes, if that is, something that could be helpful for this council, then yeah, I could be there as an alternate for that.
Then I think that would be my recommendation.
Okay.
Is to have you be the alternate, and Councilmember Dunning be.
And this is still operating under the same, excuse me, operating under the same thing that we had, which is we'll chat about this in a couple months to see, and we will have.
Yes, we will always check in. We will always check in to make sure, and trust me, I'll be the first to hear and I'm always the first to hear, if any council member isn't carrying forward the message of Lacey's stance on governmental boards and commissions. I get a phone call right away, right? It happens, hopefully very rarely, but it has happened over the years. Of course, I'll get the phone call, because that's the protocol. Okay. If Olympia council member was doing something, right, that was totally off base in Lacey, I would call the mayor of Olympia and say, hey, this is going on. I've gotten tons of phone calls, unfortunately, on the other end of things. But that's how things go. Okay. And so we will constantly be in contact. And if this doesn't work, changes will be made.
On that note, you said you also were writing a letter to the Regional Housing Council on behalf of the other mayors. Would I be able to have a chance to see that?
Of course.
Yes. The letter it's a joint letter that follows along with the state legislative priorities regarding the right-of-way funding and continue the commitment to fund the operations of the facilities built, such as Maple Court and Franz Anderson and Quinn Street and all those different things. And it's a letter to the RHC just to to remind them of the challenges of continual funding. If state funding does get rescinded or reduced or those type of things, that it's a priority of the RHC to continue to fund those facilities that we have operating and make sure that they're as whole as possible. And it's aligned with the city, the council's state shared legislative.
So let's go through the primaries and the alternates for boards and commissions. First up, we have the Thurston Climate Mitigation Collaborative. We have Ryan as the primary. Who would like to be the alternate for that?
I would.
Okay, Councilmember Cox. The EDC, we have obviously Deputy Mayor Miller. Anyone who would like to be the alternate for the EDC?
I believe Councilor Dunning.
I was last time. If you want me to do that again, I'd be more than happy. I know he's gonna make all the meetings, but, that's an easy one for me too.
Okay, Councilmember Dunning. Emergency Medical Services, Councilmember Greenstein. Who was the alternate last time for the EMS?
Was it Councilmember?
Oh, I think maybe it was Stedman, wasn't it?
Who was the alternate before?
Yeah.
Yes, it was Councilor Stedman.
Who would like to be the alternate for EMS?
That's a tough one. That's a.
Does that one meet?
Third Wednesday.
3:30 to 5.
Presses right up on the
I know.
intercity transit.
I just printed out an updated set to make sure we have the accurate meeting times reflect.
Why, because are some of these wrong here?
I just know the RHC one was listed wrong, so, there's there's a sign of caution too.
Well, this is Wednesday.
Yep.
Wednesday at 4, right?
Yep.
Fourth
Wednesday at 4.
Fourth Wednesday at 5?
EMS, it meets the third Wednesdays. Seeing no takers, I'll get to you. Seeing no takers, I will be his backup. Councilmember Cox for Intercity Transit. Do we have an alternate for that?
City. Oh, that's twice a month. First, third
There
Wednesday.
there is some discussion about perhaps scaling it back, starting maybe in the spring to once a month, but
Yeah.
currently we're on a 2-a-month cycle with intercity transit.
Third Wednesday.
Takers, does anyone put that as an alternate?
Nope. The alternate I received were submittals from Councilmember Cox on the original and
Councilmember
Councilor
Vasquez.
Vasquez was
She was the alternate, I thought.
alternate, yeah.
Because I remember her delivering.
Yeah, Councilor Vasquez was the alternate for that, and Councilmember Cox was the alternate for TRPC.
One and first and third Wednesdays. It's just an alternate. You make all those meetings, don't you, mostly?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm there unless I'm like deathly ill or
Yeah.
in the hospital or something, but.
Deputy Mayor, were either of you two or Dunning? Mayor City Transit?
That one's tough for me.
Okay. Is it,
I could switch over to EMS if that would make it easier with someone else switching to that one.
you want to do backup for EMS? Okay.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that one. It's on the 4th week, so it's easy for me.
Okay, then I'll do the backup for Intercity Transit.
I could do the backup for VCB.
Okay, we'll
Hey,
get.
it's a party.
We'll get you there. First and third Wednesdays at 5:30. When we're meeting at when?
We're meeting Wednesdays from 2 to 3:30.
Okay. Then I can be the backup for that. We're gonna see transit. Joint Animal Services, is it the second Monday?
Second Monday?
Yeah. 5:30 here at City Hall.
You put that as your first. Can you be the alternate there?
Yes.
Okay. 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 Lot second Wednesday at 5:30. Backup. That's a Wednesday. You have tough doing on Wednesdays.
Yeah, I do, I know, but.
It's a great board and they feed you.
Oh, really?
Oh, fun.
Well,
Because instead of
yeah,
meeting
sure.
twice a month with a work session and then a regular business meeting, they pile it all into one night, so.
Okay. Well, then, you make most of those too, right? What if we put, Lenny, you know, you're not here, you get volunteered for stuff.
Not here to defend himself.
Okay, we're gonna put, Lenny as the backup there. That's what he gets for missing us. BCB, Dunning, and we'll put, Deputy Mayor backup for that. Orca is Ryan, right? Who, you wanna be the backup for Orca?
Yeah, I think that was one of the ones I
Okay.
requested.
Cox. Housing Council is now CU is the backup. Solid Waste is Ryan, and who's gonna be the alternate there?
So that is a first Thursday.
First Thursday from 11 to 12:30.
I have the president's meeting on that day.
Okay.
I think Lenny was my backup last time, it's either Lenny or Mike.
Okay, we'll put, since he's not here, we'll put him as the backup. That's what you get, Lenny. Greenstein, backup for Solid Waste. T-Com, who was the backup for T-Com last year?
Mike.
Councilman Stedman. Yes, it was Councilman Stedman.
First Wednesday at 3:30. I can't.
I looks open for me.
It should be, because aren't we meeting, or are we meeting the second and fourth?
For the three of us? Oh, yeah,
Second and fourth.
we did it last time on Monday,
We're doing them on Wednesdays.
so we switched it to Wednesdays, okay.
But could you make that,
If I did,
the first Wednesday at 3:30? I mean, Lenny is the chair.
Lenny never misses those
He never
anyway.
misses those. Lenny never misses those.
yeah, because we usually meet at 4.
Yeah. What about you? Can I put you the backup for T-Com?
I'm switching back and forth between the thing. I
First
was hoping
one-
to be the backup for Law and Justice, but, I'm up for anything.
we're
as far as
getting there.
alternates go.
So T-Com, 911, yeah, Lenny's the chair, he never, but can you be the backup if he's first?
Yeah, I don't
Wednesday?
mind.
Okay, Dunning. Okay, Thurston County Law and Justice, you're the primary. And,
I was hoping to also be the backup for that one as
okay,
well.
we'll let you be the backup.
And it's a quarterly one too, so it's not too bad.
Okay, we'll let you be the backup on that.
Appreciate it.
But it is important to be there because they do a lot of information.
Yeah. Then, this is an important one, the Thurston Regional Planning Council, you're gonna be the primary. Who's gonna be the backup?
I was backup for Robin.
You wanna be backup?
I'll go ahead and take a backup position on that.
Okay. Miller. So, it is my motion that we approve the City of Lacey intergovernmental boards and representatives. Yep.
We're still missing,
Transportation and.
Transportation Policy Board and Nisqually River Council.
That's okay.
Almost got there.
And then the Nisqually River Council.
Yep. So, left. There's only one primary on the left?
Well, there's on left board.
No,
there's two
I'm on
appointments.
left.
The's two.
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the vice chair,
Okay,
Lenny's the
yeah,
chair.
so that's done.
Yeah.
Transportation Policy Board, you want to be my backup? It's not 7 AM anymore, thank God, I changed that. It's 8:30. Not much better, I'm not a morning person. You want to be my backup for Transportation Policy Board? That's rarely happens, but. Let's see, 8:30 on the second, 8:30 AM We mostly do remote, although I've been trying to push us to get back in person more and more.
Second Wednesday.
No, I can't.
Okay. Well, we're almost there. Let me get through this. Second Wednesday at 8:30 a.m.
Well, if nobody else can do it, I guess I can, since I already have a relationship with the
Okay.
planning council.
Thank you, Councilmember Cox. And then Nisqually River Valley, or Nisqually River Council, you're gonna be the.
I don't mind doing that one either. That was one I was interested in.
Okay, then you can be the backup?
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that.
And there's one other that's not on that list that was added, it's the Opioid Abatement Council. And
Oh, yeah.
Councilor Greenstein has been the primary on that,
Yes.
he wants to continue in that role.
That's fine.
And I don't know if there needs to be a backup in that role.
It'd be just nice if they just would be meeting on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's been the biggest challenge of them holding the meetings, but they're on the, first Wednesday from 5:30 to 7.
Opioid Abatement Council.
What is that?
What is that?
First Wednesday from 5:30 to 7. The Opioid Abatement Council is a regional coordination formed under an MOU and an IOLA between Thurston County, Tumwater, Olympia, and Lacey. We all receive settlement dollars from the opioid settlement, national settlements. And it's a way for that body to make recommendations how to distribute those funds out in the community for.
Denny, what about you be the backup to Lenny on that?
Yeah, I'm totally fine. I have a lot of experience with that too.
Okay. So before we vote on this is usually totally not something we do, but I know you have your hand raised. You'd like to speak?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say I didn't know anybody at this meeting until I showed up. I talked with one person over text before this, so I came at my own volition. And it's just frustrating to hear that somebody who, from his previous history, is maybe less qualified for the lead role on this council. No discussion was made on him even being the secondary or the alternate, because that seems like a very reasonable way of moving forward with somebody who has had issue with their public voice and in a position of being a representative for a city of people. I think your voice is like ridiculously important to be aware of. And I think a lot was discussed as the alternate being there to keep that person in check, but the opposite seems like a learning experience for that person who has misstepped possibly, which I think you did a very good job of expressing your concern. I mean, when you apply for jobs, and this is him applying for a position, things have to be taken in regard, and I think there's something to trusting somebody and another thing to being aware of how much you should trust, right? And moving forward strategically.
I agree with you on that. Councilmember Dunning has been the alternate.
Okay.
So he's not going into this blind. He's been the alternate on the Regional Housing Council all last year.
How long has he been the alternate? Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. How long have you been the alternate?
Probably 18 months at least.
Okay.
So did this happen during the timeline when he was the alternate? Because that would be concerning as well.
I mean, yes, but he was a non-voting member at the time as the alternate. Carolyn Cox has been our primary on that, and she's been the chair, so she's represented the city of Lacey very well.
I guess it seems like maybe it isn't a promotion, but essentially it is a promotion into a voting role then, when things have been done to kind of like diminish the,
I understand where you're coming from. I appreciate it. I still stand by the situation where he's been given an assignment, and I'm willing for him to take that assignment. And if he fails the assignment, then we'll have this conversation again. But I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt.
Let me just make one last comment. Councilmember Dunning seems to think I organized some sort of protest. No, you don't? Okay.
No, I don't. No, I don't think you had. No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I apologize if I insinuated that at all. That was not my intention.
Okay.
No, we have good dialogue, and I've always appreciated it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I still stand by my comments from last week, and I'm just going to say ahead of time I will be voting no as a protest vote on this. And that's no reflection on anybody else's assignments or my own assignments, but I just feel like I have to take that stand.
That's your prerogative. We talked about that yesterday. That's your prerogative. But it's my motion that we approve the City of Lacey Council intergovernmental boards and representatives for 2026, 2027, as we just outlined for the primaries and alternates. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
Sorry, I had a cold and I'm working on through that. As we go through the my role as the alternate, particularly as the Regional Housing Council has become so contentious in this appointment, I would like to make sure that we just have a formal way to do the check-ins that we have set forth on that.
Sure.
And that seems to be Rick raising his hand.
Yeah, I can expand a little bit. So in the appointment of the boards and commissions, as the mayor said in the policy, it's the representative that consists of the council. If there are issues that come up that affect impact the city or the city's residents or ratepayers or those type of things, then those issues are to be, they're beyond what is standard issues or typical issues. Those are to be brought back to the council. Or reported out and asked for guidance or brought back to the council for a deeper conversation. I, as city manager, can also assign staff to help support in those efforts and have pre-meetings and those type of things that can help go into agenda topics. We can, definitely provide that support on the staff side, and then also that helps with communication back as well when issues are coming up. A good example of that is it happens with any of these bodies, but right now we have the issue of the Franz Anderson Road coming up for conversation at RHC. We're having that set up for a work session actually next week to talk about it for the council's first opportunity to weigh in on that. And not necessarily making a decision, but just get informed and provide direction and guidance.
So we've been a little loose on this. And again, we've given a lot of deference historically that our representative are bringing issues like, any issues that may come up back. What I've asked our city manager to do is in an informal setting, once a month, we have a informational dinner meeting. I will go around and ask everyone at those meetings, what's the latest going on in your boards and commissions, so we can have a little more of a conversation about emerging issues that are coming up and at that point, if there's anything that comes up, we will schedule and make sure it's on the work session right away for discussion.
Okay.
And I had already offered to Nick and Ryan, I certainly would extend the same offer to you, that I'd be happy to sit down with you and background you on answer questions and that sort of thing.
And I hope that happens.
I would greatly appreciate it.
As I hope anyone who has questions to ask on any governmental board commission, you can ask the city manager, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to, if you know someone sat on that before that board or commission before, and we're all here in it together, right? And we'll be checking in a little bit more than we have in the past, and I just think that's probably good governance to do that. For such a long time, we've had the same council members that, I think we have given a lot of trust, but, I think trust is also earned, and in this case, trust is gonna really be earned. So that's where we're at. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
And one opposed.
Nay.
But the motion passes. Okay.
What I'll do, council, is I'll take this list, populate and get everything up and send out and to the council, and then also start making adjustments on the city website for assignments and everything else. But I'll make sure that this is correct with the right list of proper meeting dates, and that we have the record. Thank you.
Yep.
And, oh, and also, if you would like to have some questions or information about any of these boards and committees, please let me know. And also, I can assign the right staff. As another example, I know a lot of great utility issues that come up at that board. We, a lot of times we'll have the right water resources staff brief and that representative going into those meetings as well. So just so you know, there's support there for you.
And Councilmember Dunning, when you get back in town, let's have a conversation, okay? Okay, with that, we've reached the end of our work session, so without objection, I will call this meeting adjourned, and please keep it classy, Lacey.